Hello, everybody. A very warm welcome to all of you. I hope you are all doing very well and are taking good care of yourselves and your dear ones. Welcome to the undergraduate webinar series and interactive online platform connecting high school students to Ashoka community. In this series, we aim to cover topics related to Ashoka's undergraduate program, where our academic counselors, students, and faculty members guide you in understanding the various aspects of the university. Thank you so much for joining us today in this session, which is going to be a panel discussion on students' research at the Ashoka University. My name is Yukti, and I'll be your host for today. I work as a Senior Manager, Academic Communications with the Office of Research and Development at the Ashoka University. I've completed my PhD degree in Chemical Sciences from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Mumbai, and I worked in the area of energy storage with the applications in development of solar cells, solar batteries, etc., and then pursued a career in science communication and public engagement. Joining me today are a few amazing Ashoka students who are pursuing various research projects at Ashoka. Before we begin, I would request our audience to please drop in any questions that you have in the question and answers box provided on your Zoom screen, and we will address them towards the end of the session. So without any further delay, let's start with a quick round of introductions. I invite our first panelist, Soham. I request you to quickly introduce yourself.
Thank you, Yukti. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, I am Soham. I am an undergraduate student from the batch of 2022 at Ashoka University. I am currently majoring in computer science, and in terms of undergraduate research, I have worked in fields such as computational biology, cryptography, machine learning, and various other combinations of these fields.
Thank you, Soham. I would now like to call our second panelist, Devas.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Devas. I am an ASP student, a fourth-year student at Ashoka University presently. I did my bachelor's in physics, and currently I'm engaged in research with Professor Pramoda Kumar. My field of interest is essentially climate change, earth sciences, geophysics. So that's the realm in which I am working currently, and that's the field of my research as well. I'll be talking more about it in the session today.
Thank you, Devas. Over to the next panelist, I call upon Devshivam. Can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Yukta. So I am Devshivam Banerjee, and I am a ASP 21 student. I majored in biology, and my research interests lie in microbial evolution, immunology, and I have been currently working with Professor Imraz Khan, and we have done a lot of research in terms of sexual dimorphism and immunity. And I will talk about it in the session beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Devshivam. I call upon our next panelist, Sunadi. Can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Yukti. Hi, I'm Sunadi, and I'm also an ASP student at Ashoka University, and I majored in psychology. I'm currently pursuing an advanced major in psychology. My research interests lie at the intersection of developmental, social, and organizational psychology. And I'm working with Professor Madhvi Maganti and Professor Shramana Majumdar on the same lines.
Thank you, Sonali. I call upon our next panelist, Ruth. Request you to please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Yukti. Hi, I hope everyone can hear me well. I'm Ruth. I'm majoring in computer science, and I am thrilled to be here. I love computer science because I feel like the diversity of problems that we have today and how big the world is, computer science, especially AI and data science and machine learning, are what can meet that scale and solve problems with personalized approaches. And I love that it's interdisciplinary and I can work in any field with it. So I'm thrilled to be here and talk to you about research at Ashoka and how it involves all of this and more. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Rutu. Now I call upon our last panelist, Kartik. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Kartik. I'm a physics major and a philosophy minor. And I'm interested in computational cosmology, and I've worked on in the past on an ISRO project as well. But today I'll probably be talking about logic, advanced logic and philosophy. And those are the other things that I'm interested in: philosophy of science, logic, scientific frameworks of consciousness. So, yeah.
Okay, I take this opportunity to thank you all once again for agreeing to be a part of this discussion and agreeing to share your research journey at Ashoka. We'll quickly dive into the discussions. My first question is directed to Devas, who plans to translate his research findings from physics projects into studying the realm of climate change, which is the topic of discussion everywhere these days. So, Devas, I would like to understand from you what really got you interested in pursuing research. What motivated you, influenced you? Was it the faculty? Was it the subject, or just the general academic environment at Ashoka that's so research driven?
Well, actually, it's a mix of everything. I think, initially when I came into Ashoka, I knew that I wanted to do something in the field of climate change in the future. But yes, as a first year student at Ashoka, I didn't really know what were the opportunities available for, a young 18-year-old, 19-year-old student. But that was when, I saw all of my seniors, working on different projects. And I think the final push was when one day I was, just having a random conversation with one of my professors in the lab. And he told me that he had worked on something very similar, before coming to Ashoka. And then I think that was it. We thought that, okay, let's start something like that here at Ashoka as well. And then we thought, okay, then we planned out the logistics, and I think they were really supportive. And the entire physics department, they said, okay, this sounds like a very interesting project. The HOD approved it, and we just went ahead with it.
Great, thank you, and congratulations for being able to work in such an interesting field.
Thank you.
I would now like to hear from Rutu on this. Was Rutu pursuing research the initial plan, or did Ashoka influence you in any way?
I think the really cool thing is that I didn't really know much about research in computer science before I came here. And I remember my first year, I just walked into Professor Divine Gupta's office because I was really interested in AI and ethics. And when we started discussing that, it sort of snowballed into other discussions. And he mentioned a research project he was working on. And I was really interested in that. And so on that project, I realized, whoa, there's like this whole world of really amazing research. And similarly, with Professor Bhattacharya, I got involved in machine learning and DNA mutation prediction research just by taking like a biology course of his. So I think the faculty is really supportive, and that encourages a lot of research. And because it's a liberal arts school, we take so many courses that are outside of our major, and the courses don't have sort of exams with pre-prepared answers like high school. They really encourage you to research the answers. And so I think all of that contributes to sort of pushing you to be creative and really want to do research. So I think it's just natural.
Great. That's fantastic. Thank you so much. My next question is directed to Deshuvam. Deshuvam, what are some of the research opportunities available to undergraduate students at Ashoka? And how likely is it for an undergraduate student to take up research project or assist a faculty member in any real-time project?
To begin with, it's in fact the research culture in Ashoka is very free, and any undergraduate who has a interesting question to ask, they can just go to the faculty and talk to them, like you have seen from Ritu and Devas Jyoti. And if it's interesting enough, the professor would like you to continue with it, and it is very likely to get research opportunities in Ashoka because the labs itself are growing every day, because I have been a founding batch of biology, and we started off very small as a lab, and now it has grown with a lot of cool uh, machines and lots of other things, like a lot of other technologies which helps us in research. So there are immense amount of opportunities that one can get, and plus you can start off with an independent project like I did, so which led me to collaboration internationally. So that was really helpful. Yeah.
Great. On that note, I have a subsequent question, Deshivam. How easy is it to ace that international collaboration when you are working during a pandemic? You are working in India and you are collaborating with somebody outside. How easy is the process?
So given that the professors in themselves have these collaborations, it's really easy for you to also tap onto these gold mines. If I think of collaborations, so it really helps you to get into touch with them. And of course, again, this pandemic situation gets really difficult, but then we pull through. Even the collaborators are very helpful to us, so we all can collaborate easily and get jobs done as soon as possible. That really helps.
Sure, sure. Thank you. Also, I can actually think of an analogy after I read Shubham's work. Please bear with me for a little while. He's working on a biology project where he's studying a biological system where microbes are fighting with other microbes for environment, space, host, etc. So I'll actually shed some light over here that this fighting environment is only restricted to the biological system in the lab, and the scenario here at Ashoka is bang opposite. Students live in harmony, they help each other and keep the environment very vibrant. Quickly moving on, Soham, this question is for you. What are some of the research opportunities available to undergraduate students studying computer science, and how likely is it for a computer science undergrad to take up research project?
So I'll start with a small personal anecdote, and it's surprisingly similar to Ruth. So my introduction to research was also just walking into Professor Devan Gupta's office and us having a half an hour long discussion about everything he's doing. That's basically how I got into research. And my first project was a computational biology project where I was making a software for covalent tweezers, which is at the biology lab. This is something very unique, which you can only do at Ashoka because of the interdisciplinary collaborations possible. In terms of pure CS research, currently I am doing a project with the Emphasis Lab. The full name is the Emphasis Lab for Machine Learning and Computational Thinking. It's a very new lab set up by the Department of Computer Science last year. And that is a lab which often recruits a lot of Ashokan students, undergraduates. The year round, we have a lot of faculty advisors, and we are encouraged to work on fields which are often the departmental interests as well. Now, apart from these, if there is something you want to do, and for some reason that isn't covered in the regular CS curriculum at Ashoka, the curriculum also offers things called independent study modules, ISMs, which very often are just individually motivated research projects. So for example, I want to learn more about, say, XYZ, and that isn't covered in any course. I can just approach a professor, and if the professor is willing to take it up, I can just literally study that course, do my own research, and get help from advisors, and actually get credits and grades for that as well. This, and obviously professors are very, very approachable. You can always reach out to any professor to talk about their research interests and figure out what they're doing, etc. So opportunities are definitely plenty.
Okay, thank you. I actually have a subsequent question for you. So for example, while you are going through the literature about one of your projects and suddenly a new research idea struck you, how easy is it for you to, pitch that idea to your supervisor and tell him or her that, okay, I want to take research in this particular direction as well?
It's so that's something that keeps happening every time. So for example, in my current field of research, which is very specific, it's privacy preserving machine learning. There's a lot of literature that already exists. In like recent years, we see like hundreds of papers being published in that area itself. And so I encounter like multiple papers every week or so, and we always come up with new ideas. And professor also comes up with new ideas himself. And he's always very willing to discuss his ideas and our ideas, and always very receptive. So yeah, definitely. How willing a professor would be to take up your idea is often very, depends on the professor. But in my experience, every professor has been like super supportive of every idea I've had.
Perfect. Thank you so much for elaborating on that. I would now request Sonali to address the following question. Actually, Sonali is also working on two diverse projects. On one hand, she and her colleagues are in the process of developing a tool for monitoring status of children with neurological disorders. And on the other hand, she is working on a project titled Youth and Social Media. So this title in itself is so exciting. Sonali, I would like to hear from you, what is really the role of a faculty in motivating students to take up research projects at Ashoka?
Thanks, Yukti. So the first thing that I realized when I wanted to get into research was that it transitioned from me just being a student at a course. So for example, if I go into developmental psychology, the first project that you mentioned about neurodevelopmental disorders, I was attending a course called Developmental Psychology under Professor Maganti. And as the classes progressed, I realized that this is something that I could be interested in. And at the same time, I was attending another course, which was of social psychology under a different professor. And I realized that there are common things that I could link from both. And both professors were very, very motivating. They encouraged me to take it up. And initially, I started working with Professor Shramana for her project Youth in Social Media. And then I took that project on, and it's just in the concluding stages right now. We're looking for a journal to publish it in. It's been an amazing process, and Professor has been with me throughout of it. She's never said no to new ideas. She's always encouraging me to explore more, go beyond the current literature that exists. And with Professor Maganti as well, she's been so forthcoming, especially because her project is on national level and we are undergraduate students. So our research experiences is still limited. Still, she's been a guiding light in every step, and she's asked me to prepare literature for it, or whether she's even included me in meetings with national level experts on the field. So I feel this entire process could not be possible if our professors aren't encouraging us. And this is something that is done at Ashoka a lot. The teaching pedagogy in itself is designed to make you want to question the things that you're studying. And when those questions arise, you often, like your professor, the first point of contact you go to. And there's never a no from their side, especially like some of my other colleagues mentioned, you can take up an independent research module, an ISM, and then subsequently an advanced ISM to explore the research more. We also have a capstone thesis project, which you can do in your fourth year, where you can completely do a PhD level research at a mini undergraduate level. And I think it's an experience that isn't easily offered in India anywhere apart from Ashoka. And I'm really humble, and like I appreciate my professors a lot for giving me this opportunity, especially like you mentioned, the Youth and Social Media project. It's something that it's very close to my heart. We study intergroup relations online on Instagram, Facebook, and how, you know, intergender and interreligion contact happens. And it's something that we come across every day but don't notice. So things like these are extremely important to be studied, and professors have always motivated me. And as I think somebody else also mentioned, that tipping into their contacts and collaborations is indeed like a gold mine. You get in touch with some amazing professors and faculty from across the world who are already working with our professors, and that helps us to sort of make our own way in that field.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sonali. That was quite comprehensive, and wishing you the best with the publishing that exciting work. I would now like to ask Kartik, who has a training in physics as well as philosophy. How does research at Ashoka bring out the interdisciplinarity of various subjects and fields of study? And how crucial is it to pursuing any kind of research? Also, a subsequent question for you, Kartik. Was your training in physics and philosophy synergistic to each other, or you had a tough time juggling between the two subjects?
Yeah, so I'll try to give a tangible answer instead of just speaking in abstractions. But one way that my training in philosophy has influenced my work in physics is what a lot of people don't realize while doing high school physics is that physics isn't just computations. We don't just calculate things blindly. Physics is, in the words of Professor Fuken, the art of noticing. And real physics research involves a lot of arguing. So you have your data, you have things that you cannot change, and you have your rules which come from theories, and you sort of develop your arguments. And one thing that philosophers are really good at is arguing. In fact, there's this one thing I learned in Professor Kranti's class, that philosophy is about trying to answer questions that a 5-year-old might ask, but using the toolkit and rigor of someone who's a lawyer by profession. So, for example, in a paper that I worked on for physics education, it works on fairly advanced concepts in physics, but the way the paper progresses is me just trying to develop an argument. I'm given this thing, and then I'm just pouring is that really the case? Or what about this? Or what about this? And the other way that philosophy is impacted by my training in physics is philosophers just try to make models that understand how things in the broadest possible sense hang together. And modern physics just makes the real world just so counterintuitive. And how do you accommodate those things? That is just definitely something that philosophers of science, philosophers of logic, for example, my work in logic of time, it's mainly about how our philosophical models can be made compatible with our understanding in physics. So yeah, it's definitely synergistic, and it's part of the reason why I enjoy doing both of them together.
Great, great, great. I think all of your research topics are such amazing topics that we need to have another session to discuss those in detail. Coming back to Devas, I would like to ask you, what are some of the skills, tools, techniques, soft skills, methods you learned during your journey at Ashoka?
Well, I think, I'm sure everyone is going to agree to what I'm going to say, that, the moment you start doing a project, be it a research project or anything as such, that is when you actually know how much you have learned from your theory courses or from your, college courses. So I think, if you talk about the techniques, a lot actually. I mean, so the whole research started with me and my friend. The two of us trying to first build the entire equipment, which in itself is an engineering project. So that is the first thing. I've never handled tools like physical tools and such things. So I think the first technique, the first tool that I learned was more along the engineering line. And apart from that, the way we did our project was that we had to capture videos. And so image analysis is something which is very important for, like, if you look at how glaciers are retreating or anything as such. So that visual, the image processing skill, that is something which I learned. And again, you have to make use of Python and such computational codes to analyze those images and videos. So yeah, it's like, one research project is going to help a student in like all aspects. There's so many tools, techniques that you learn, right from engineering, from building the equipment to capturing videos, images, then going on to analyzing them. And apart from that, also, first, it's like you have to go through research project, you have to go through research papers, understanding them, and then applying it on your own. I think there is a lot of skill that you require for that, and it really prepares you for the world outside, where already have our like research papers and work that other people have done previously. You won't always have someone to guide you. So how you go through those research papers, understand it, and then apply it in your work. So these are like some of the very important skills that I've learned in my research experience at Ashoka.
Thank you, Devas. Also, I would like to hear from Soham. Soham, what do you think? What was the skill set that you have developed during your research journey at Ashoka?
So what I think is that what we're taught at university courses and what happens at the cutting edge and the state of the art, there's definitely a gap between them. So whenever you take up a research project, you're bound to learn a lot of stuff, technically, obviously, right? So I think every time I have taken up a new project, I've invariably ended up learning a new programming language to code up the entire system or understand the thing that they have made, the other papers have used, etc. There's always when you read through papers, each paper cites a lot of different papers. So you invariably end up branching out a lot more than you thought you would. So you learn a lot more about the field. And after a point, it actually becomes addictive. So you enjoy like learning more about it. And so there's definitely technical skills that you learn. But what I also want to point out is that there's also a lot of soft skills that you learn. You learn, as Kartik pointed out, how to argue properly, how to find flaws in arguments. And also you become a very good reader, especially once you start getting into the habit of reading papers every day. So yeah, this is definitely a very holistic skill set that you develop in the process.
Great. Thank you so much, Soham. Rutu, my next question is for you, and I would like to understand from you, have you noticed yourself grow as an individual, not just academically, in the process of doing research at Ashoka? Has it resulted in your overall development? If yes, then how?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. Definitely, yeah. We have two research papers published now in international conferences from our team. And for both the papers, one of them is on making passwords more secure, but it uses, we all have random passwords. We all know that they need to be strong, but because it's hard for our brain to remember them, we end up reusing them or creating weak ones. And so our research involved researching how to make that easier for people using a combination of neuroscience and machine learning and cognitive science and literature and other things. And the second paper also involves like research and biology. And so just working in this plethora of fields makes you really open as a person, because you realize there's so much you don't know. But also each time we submitted at different conferences, you go through this process of sort of getting feedback if they want you to change your paper, or sometimes you're rejected, but the feedback that they give you with the rejection you use to improve your paper. And sometimes, in the first paper that we submitted, something went wrong with the submission. So we had to reach out to the chairs and explain what happened and negotiate. So all of those really developed skills and perspectives that help you grow as a person. But of course, most importantly, your work with the team makes you grow, especially because you're working with people who have different perspectives. And for example, in our most recent research paper, one person came up with an idea, but then there was another team that implemented it. And so to communicate that between different people, to understand where they're coming from and express your own idea and work with presentations for the conference, negotiations, ideating, all of this does really make you grow as a person. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ritu. This question is for Sonali. How do you envision your career taking shape after this? Would you be taking up more research work in the future, or develop further on some of your research projects to contribute to the academic space?
Thank you, Yukti. So yes, essentially, I feel like the subjects that I've been studying, and specifically the research projects that I've undertaken, have practical applications for my career in particular, but for the larger subject that I'm interested in, which is industrial and organizational psychology. And ultimately, what I want to do is be able to become a neurodiversity advocate in workplace organizations, work for diversity inclusion in places. And this is something that I feel Professor Maganti has also encouraged me a lot on. Currently, the project that we're working on, we're building a functional tool for assessment for children with neurodevelopmental disorders. What it will do is establish a common language for describing health and health-related issues across India. So that's the first step towards normalizing neurodiversity in the country in itself. And this is some work that I want to take on further when I become an industrial organizational psychologist, hopefully. And along with that, I do want to definitely keep contributing to the academic space by keeping my own personal research at the side, and social psychology also, as I mentioned, exploring intergroup contact online. This is something that I want to keep doing as the social space is expanding and changing so rapidly. I feel like newer topics will keep coming up. And yeah, that's what my plan is. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Sonali. Also, Kartik, I would like to hear from you. How do you see your career evolving after this? Do you have plans to continue in academic research and contribute to the community at large?
Yeah, so it's actually funny. When I was in high school, I was in 11th, 12th grade, I worked on a project at Ayuka. And I was completely sure that theoretical astrophysics, gravitational waves, this is the kind of stuff I want to do. And then I did my first physics course in Ashoka, and I realized, maybe not. Maybe I'm okay with space mission design. And now I'm doing my second year summer internship, and I'm back to square one doing computational cosmology, which is completely theoretical physics. So yeah, I am actively trying to explore different things. There, I definitely want to stay in academia and do research. I might try out to be an astronaut one day, maybe a decade later. But the good thing about training as a physicist is this sort of tools that you acquire, the way Devas mentioned this, you become a really good technical writer, you become a really good programmer, you become really good at modeling mathematically. So even if I don't want to stay in academia, I already have sort of a placement offer in a rocket startup company. So if I want to jump into the industry, one day I decide that, okay, maybe this is too annoying, too frustrating for me. The good thing is that you always have the options available.
Certainly. Thank you so much. Also, I think all of you are lucky enough to get that training in different subjects before you invest a longish 5 years of PhD in a particular subject and later on realize, oops, that's not my cup of tea. I think that's really important to get this sort of an exposure at this stage. Also, I would like to hear from Devshovan. Where do you see yourself going? Will it be academic research? Will it be industry-based research or something else for you?
As you mentioned that getting to know what you like before doing a PhD is important, and I really agree with that. I am looking forward for an academic research, although I don't mind industrial research after that. But yeah, how Ashoka training in Ashoka has helped me is to gain focus on what I'm really interested in. I came as from after in my first year, I just came and as someone who would just do something with mouse or do something with probably cell culture and stuff. But then I found no, I found this amazing world of microbes and insects, and hence I want to pursue that for my research and higher studies. So yeah, I'm my problem looking forward to become an evolutionary microbiologist for my career ahead.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Dev Shubham. Okay, in the interest of time, I think we have a lot of questions pouring in from audience. So we'll try to take up as many questions as possible. And I may not know who will be the best to answer the question that I'll be elaborating. So please feel free to pitch in wherever you think you would fit. So my first question is there a way for students to be more aware of research opportunities at Ashoka? Is there a regular update of some sort? Would anybody like to comment on this?
One thing that has actually helped me in my experience at Ashoka is just being in touch with your faculty members, and the other thing is being in touch with your academic society. So, for example, I'm a part of physics society, and we try to bring together different people, alums, who talk about how they landed their summer internships, who are the people that they reached out to. And we also try to get in professors. There are colloquiums. So if there are colloquiums, guest lectures, you should try to attend them. So the only way to know about research opportunities is to engage with people who actually do research, and the people who actually do research are generally your peers or your professors. So just staying in touch helps a lot.
Sure, sure. Thank you, Kartik. Also, there is a question for you. As somebody is asking, as I am also interested in studying cosmology, how would you suggest I go about structuring my courses to follow this path?
So Ashoka's physics program already offers a cosmology course, but one thing that might help you in your future endeavors in cosmology is just being good with tensor calculus. So just having the right sort of mathematical background. If that is something that you can acquire at an early stage, the other things would follow naturally. And otherwise, just doing the way, just going about doing physics the way Ashoka's physics program is structured, and also trying your hands out in different computational techniques. So it's almost impossible to do any physics nowadays without using computers. So yeah, that would be my advice.
Definitely. Thank you, Kartik. We have another question. Maybe Sonali can answer this question. Are there some research? Hello?
Sorry, could I just add to what Kartik
Sure,
said?
sure. Please go ahead.
I just want to mention that actually the brilliant thing is that even if if you can, of course, look for research opportunities, but the amazing thing is that you can also create them on your own. So in classes and courses, if you have an idea, if you're like, oh, the professor talked about neurons in this way, what if they could be used in computer science in this way? What if you could build a network in this way? Just walk up to them and talk to them, because one of the papers we published was actually the result of my co-author sitting me and one of my teammates down and saying, I have this really great idea about preserving privacy in federated learning systems. And we formed a team and we pitched it to the professor and they liked it. So you can create your own opportunities. So go for it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ritu, for pitching in over there. Okay, coming back to my previous question. This one is, are there some research opportunities available for organizational psychology?
So currently there are professors working on social psychology, and there's a center for behavioral change. So they work in tandem with topics that you might come across in organizational psychology, which is like intergroup relations and studying conflict and studying discrimination, inclusivity, and diversity. But there isn't yet an organizational psychology faculty at Ashoka. But I spoke to the HOD recently. I think they're trying to bring someone on board, and definitely if you can work in cross-disciplinary ways, it would really help you to get in touch with all psychology faculty, ask them about, how can I make my subject, my topic relevant to your subject, and probably explore both things at once. So that's a good way to start your own thing. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Devas, maybe you can take this question. What made you choose physics over any engineering course?
Well, I think Kartik spoke a lot about this, the kind of skill sets that a theoretical background in a particular subject gives you. I think, this is a saying that if you really want to do things, then, some of the concepts that you need are, that of CS and physics. And from here, you can go on and build on any other field. So like when I was in high school, I wanted to get into geology, to be honest. But then, when I read up more about things, and I realized that, okay, undergraduate degree in physics is like, one of the strongest foundations that one could build, be it in terms of math, be it in terms of, arguments like Kartik said, also, mathematical modeling, be it computational. So I think there are certain things that you might not get if you're doing only engineering, this understanding some, the very basic root of the problem. So that is something which physics helps you with. And engineering is something which you learn. I think, this is my opinion. I might be wrong about this, but engineering is something which you can learn along the way as well. But, if your basic concepts are clear when it comes to, okay, like the very theoretical foundations of anything, of any problem, I think that is what helps. And now that I've chosen physics, initially I found it really difficult in college, but now after my undergraduate degree is over, I think I made a really good decision of choosing, to do physics. But yeah, like in the future, I do plan to shift into the domain of engineering, and I think it won't really be that big of a problem for me because, the foundations are hopefully clear and clear for me. So yeah, that's the reason why I chose physics.
Thank you. Thanks to you and Kartik. Okay, the next question is, are most of these research projects conducted during the time of normal coursework or during the summer semester? Also, are there any additional credits that you get by participating in a research project? Soham, would you like to take this?
Sure. So the first part of the question, the answer is yes to both. You can do projects during the semester. You can do them for credit or just randomly without credit as well. You can also do projects in the summer. In fact, I am doing a project in the summer, and it's a paid funded opportunity, which I took up as an internship this summer, which was with one of the labs at Ashoka. Now, in terms of research, the one thing is that you do not necessarily need a mentor to get started. You don't need to, as Ruth, I think previously mentioned, you don't need to ask a mentor for the projects and then see if you can join them. You can literally do something on your own and maybe with your friends or something and get an advisor. And those projects, you can always do them. It doesn't really depend on the university schedules. And as I previously mentioned, if you do a research project as a part of your ISM, or as Sonali mentioned, as part of your ASP capstone thesis or capstone project, then you will get credits for that. Yes.
Thank you, Soham. My next question, maybe Rutu can take this question. Is it a little alienating to major in a science subject in a school traditionally known for liberal arts?
Oh, that's a good question. I think if it's anything, it's the opposite of alienating, because being able to take these courses in completely different subjects other than science. I mean, I've taken courses in art and anthropology and philosophy and history. All of them make you feel more connected to the community around you, even though you're pursuing science. I can speak for computer science and say that pursuing all of those other courses in different fields shows you how you can, it gives you a lot of ideas on how you can apply your science to those other fields. I mean, almost everyone on this panel is working on something interdisciplinary. So I think that just goes to show that it's not alienating at all, and it's really great actually to talk to people from other subjects, because you get so many new ideas. And I had the most fun in one of my philosophy courses, like pretending to be in ancient Greece and understanding how they thought. And some of those things are what inspired work in AI for social good and AI in ethics right now. So yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Great, thank you, thank you. I think this question really break the myth about liberal arts being just humanities and arts. Liberal arts, it's just not that. It's a pedagogy. It's a method of teaching and learning, and not a particular subject. Moving forward, this question is for Dev Shubham. Dev Shubham, somebody is asking, my daughter is interested in doing undergraduation in biology and wants to know if Trivedi School of Biological Sciences, being a new setup, is it fully functional for students, and can we get a tour of the school sometime before we can apply?
Sure. So the Trivedi School of Biosciences is a new setup, of course, but it's a functional organization. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a separate building or a school made for itself because of the COVID pandemic that is happening, which is delaying the whole process. We all are still waiting for it to open up. But as an organization, it is fully functional, and there are professors being recruited, and they are taking our courses. You can also visit our labs and our other faculty that are there. And sure, you can meet them and talk about the School of Biosciences, because it's the same department. It's just that another center is open for biology.
Thank you. There's another question related to that. It's a broad question, but maybe you can try addressing it by simply talking about the different domains in which the biology researchers are working in. So what are the possible research projects that one can undertake in biology at Ashoka?
At Ashoka, there are lots of faculties that are taking research in different fields. Like there is chronobiology, there is evolutionary biology, there is neuroscience, there is again biochemistry work going on. There's also biophysics, the lab that has just opened up. And so there are lots of areas of research that one can go through. And also it is not really important because that what field that the faculty is working on, because again, things are interdisciplinary. You can get the faculties can help you with getting other lines of research I've been working. Like my own project was something that my advisor was not working on, but given that it interested him and me, and he said we can still have this project going on. So it's not really so much need required to have a specific field that the lab is working on. So yeah, if that answers the question perfectly.
Sure. Thank you so much. Kartik, this is a broad question for you. Research is so hard. How do you start, and where do you start from?
I actually completely sympathize with that idea. I think the hardest part is not doing the research, but sort of figuring out what your thesis is, what you want to study. And that little process, for example, my work in philosophy and logic, I spent, I guess, like 3 semesters studying logic and just like gorging myself in a stew of every imaginable idea to just figure out what do I really want to study about logic. But one helpful advice that I can probably give is that if you sort of treat that process, because once you have your research question, then figuring out things, how do you want to solve it, how do you want to go about it, that is almost like solving a puzzle, which some people like me and almost everyone else on this panel might find enjoyable. But the difficult part for me, at least, is that little region where you don't even know what you're doing. And my advice is that, again, if you just enjoy the process instead of having the mindset that, okay, where would I be able to use this? For example, throughout the last semester, to do something in thermal physics, I spent a lot of time learning general relativity. But the thing that I did at the end did not really use general relativity at all. But now when I'm working with someone, now I have the opportunity to use all those skills. So the point is not to think about how you're going to use all this random information that you've accumulated, but treat the research part as something that you just find enjoying. And then after you form your question precisely and accurately, then it's just puzzle solving. It's just seeing how the jigsaw is coming together. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think you have very well articulated it. Thank you, Kartik. My next question is directed to Sonali. Somebody is asking, during your semesters, when did you know for sure what you wanted to specifically do in psychology? Do you need to know that during your first semester itself?
Thanks, Yukti. So no, you don't. You definitely don't need to know anything in your first semester. When you come to Ashoka, I think everyone encourages us just to keep an open mind, because in our first year we'll be doing a lot of foundation courses and we are exploring as many subjects as we want to. I think the decision you need to make is more in your second year of what you want to do, and still you can keep researching, you can keep exploring domains in psychology. Like for me, I took all 5 foundation courses in psychology, core courses, and then I decided in my last year that okay, social psychology and developmental is something that I want to take forward in my 4th year. So you can keep exploring as long as you're having fun with the subject.
Thank you, Sonali, for answering that. My next question is for Devas. Devas, would it be possible to be able to pursue environmental science at Ashoka in spite of having done humanities in 11th and 12th?
Well, so actually we have a minor at Ashoka called Environmental Studies. It's not environmental science, it's environmental studies. So it's not really a problem because the courses are not really technical, apart from 1 or 2 where they teach remote sensing GIS. So yeah, it's primarily, non-technical. So I don't think anyone should face any problem with the EVS minor course if they have done humanities in 11th and 12th. So yeah.
I would like to add something to that. And even if the programs are technical, for example, when you get an admission to Ashoka, you don't get an admission for a specific program, but to Ashoka. So even if you haven't done, like obviously if you've done sciences in your 11th, 12th, that might make things easier for you. But I know people in my batch who are doing physics who haven't done a single physics chapter in their high school. I know people who wanted to do a major in English and ended up becoming math majors. So that's just something which happens. It might be more difficult for you, but this sort of support feedback exists.
Thank you, Kartik, for pitching in over there. Quickly going back to Soham. Soham, what are the research opportunities at Ashoka for computer science at an interface with economics?
Right. One of the recent research projects that was done, I was a part of it, but also there was another group doing it. That is an interdisciplinary project between Econ and CS, which was about finding out if there's an optimal way to manage the reservation system in India. That requires data analysis, which happens on the computer science side, and also understanding of how the system works in India, which is an economic question. In terms of pure economics research, I am not well aware of all the opportunities, but I'm sure someone else on this panel might be able to pitch in. But in terms of computer science, I think the primary research areas include cryptography, fully homomorphic encryption. Ruth worked on, I think, encrypted passwords. I think a really cool trench coat project, which was very cool when I read it. We work on privacy preserving machine learning. We work on computer vision, machine learning. I said that already. These are the primary areas, but of course, there are also many projects which are not a part of these primary areas of research, and those often get published as well. Drive-by sensing was a big project that was recently published with Microsoft Research, etc. But yeah, that's.
Thank you. My next question is for Rutu. This is an interesting question. So from the point of view of research, how do you think coming to a place like Ashoka is different from, say, an IIT in the field of computer science? Is it quite interesting to see that a large number of research opportunities are multidisciplinary in nature? However, does this compromise on the rigor of pure computer science?
That's a really good question again. Does it compromise on the rigor of pure computer science? Definitely not. It's completely your choice whether you want to do something interdisciplinary or not. One of the papers that we worked on most recently was completely in computer science. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people who work on projects that only deal with theoretical computer science, how you can improve, for example, machine learning models, or working on PNP problems and algorithms. So it doesn't compromise the rigor at all, because it's your choice. And I think that's the great thing, is if you want to do something interdisciplinary, you can, but if you want to pursue something pure, you can do. And I can tell you the courses in the theoretical sort of pure aspects of computer science in terms of algorithms and graphs and all of that are very rigorous at Ashoka. I can tell you from experience. So no. Was there another part of the question?
I think you answered it very well already. Thank you. Okay, so the next question is, do any of you plan on continuing your studies or careers abroad? And if so, does the faculty at Ashoka help that process in terms of potential projects, letting you know the opportunities, etc.? Any of you can take this question, actually.
Can I take this?
Please go ahead.
So I'm also planning to do my master's abroad after my 4th year, and preferably in industrial and organizational psychology. So what happens is that I've seen students, especially in our 3rd and 4th years, who've been given opportunities of research grants, scholarships that are being offered abroad. Everything which professors have access to, they send it to us usually. In psychology, I can speak with psychology that way. Anything and every information that they come across, they usually relay to us. And if they have already taught at an institution abroad, or if they have been alum of an institution, they're so helping in that process of getting across, connecting to the school. And I think one important factor here also comes when you want to take letter of recommendations from your professor. So they're very forthcoming in that too. And overall, like, they're very helpful in the entire process. And I think I mainly chose Ashoka for this reason as well, because I knew their partnerships abroad with all the global education office, everything is so good that you get ample opportunities to try for masters and PhD abroad.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that by saying that the opportunities are just so cool. I was able to organize a research conference for women in data science to empower them. And I sort of just looked it up online. I was like, okay, I'm interested in doing this. And then once I got started, the faculty, the students around Ashoka as volunteers were just so supportive and providing the resources and their time and their effort to organize that. And people from all over the world attended that conference. So just aside from like the skills that you gain by organizing something like that, talking to an international research community, that also has a lot of weight on your application. And it gives you perspective that you can use to write statements of purpose and stuff for international schools. So there's opportunity already, and then there's also opportunity when you create it, and everyone's super supportive. So definitely, yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Ritu. Okay. Although we are running out of time, but I'll take a couple of more questions. Will research projects create a wider impact on our research career prospects? Would any one of you like to take that?
Yeah, I might. Okay, yeah. Soham, go on.
Sure. I think you're in a better position. But from what I have heard from all my alums and people who have gotten into great places from Ashoka itself, every research-based graduate program, be it an MS program or a PhD program, essentially looks at your ability to do research. And what better way to demonstrate it by actually having papers published or having first-hand experience in them. So it's definitely a yes.
Thank you so
yeah,
much.
If I may just add to this. So like, this is what I heard from my senior who just got into Carnegie Mellon for her PhD. So this is something she mentioned. So one good thing about Ashoka is that after you have done your 4th year, you can straight away go for PhD studies, especially in the US. So yeah, if you're going for masters, even then, obviously research counts a lot. It shows how interested you are in a particular field, and also, how you can take up something independently. But even more than that, especially if you're going for PhD directly after your undergraduate studies, the 4-year undergraduate, then this definitely helps a lot. This is something which is, I think, one of the most important aspects of your application, especially if you're going for PhD right after your 4th year.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Devas. This question is again something that maybe you can take or anybody else who's willing to. Although my intended major is biology, I'm looking at environmental sciences as a minor. Is it possible to undertake research projects in minor subjects?
Yeah, I mean, you can.
I would like to.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
go on. It's okay.
Yeah, so like Kartik mentioned again, like at Ashoka, the best thing is that, you're not confined by any subject or any, domain as such. So one of the research projects that I did in my first year was essentially using remote sensing to see how much land has been lost in a particular island in Assam, in my home state. So that was essentially, some sort of a combination of physics and EVS out there. And I'm sure, I think that like this opportunity is even wider if you have biology and EVS together. So it's never really a problem. You can do your research in any field as such if you have the proper guidance. Like if you have your professor working in that, it's even better. Sometimes, like especially if you want credits for that course, then yeah, if your thing is, if it suits really well with something in the EVS domain, then you can get credits for your minor out there as well. If you convert it into an ISM project. So yes, I think it's possible. It's not just bio and EVS. You can also do sociology, EVS, and all of those combinations. You just need to come up with an idea, talk to your professor. If they're interested, they'll help you. And like yeah, I think most of the time they're really forthcoming and willing to help you out. So that's really good.
Sure. Thank you, Devas. Yes, Devshivam, you want to add to this?
Yeah, sure. So if a person's doing in biology, it would be helpful for them to take an EVS or any subject or any major coursework. But the thing is, I can only speak for biology, that's my department. So there are lots of courses which are cross-listed with environmental studies, and those courses are not only for a bio major, but it also looks into the environment. So like we did this course in ecology, and it is a course with environmental studies, and the professor takes into account to discuss environmental issues and how these are also taking into play with biology and ecology in science. So it would actually help the person to take up a few courses in biology and also do EVS. And of course, you can take any research. You can take a research project in EVS, in biology, any subject. In a
Okay.
Plus,
Yes.
I'm here because of my philosophy research, even though it's just my minor. So yeah, that's definitely both my advisors, Professor Rosenhagen and another professor who really helped me during the project, Professor Sharon Berry. They're both from philosophy department, but my main gig is definitely physics.
Thank you, Kartik. One last question. Certainly, this is the last question. How important do you think is the Ashoka Scholars Program from the point of view of research? Anybody?
I can take it out. So I think the ASP is very extremely instrumental if you want to pursue a PhD afterwards, or even if you want to go into proper academic or industrial research, because then you have a complete year to explore subjects and also get involved in a capstone thesis project. So I would say that it is important, but if you're not able to do the ASP for some reason, the 3 years that you're at Ashoka, you still get ample opportunities to participate in research, to ISMs with professors. So ASP won't, not doing an ASP won't limit you, but it will definitely be a great add-on.
Thank you so much, Sunadi. I think in the interest of time, we'll have to bring this panel discussion to an end. And I would like to thank you for joining us today for this webinar. Also, I would like to thank all our panelists. You guys are amazing, and I wish you all the very best for the future endeavors. I look forward to reading more manuscripts coming out from your projects. And I hope you enjoyed, our audience enjoyed meeting our fantastic students as much as I did. And before we wrap up the session, we would really appreciate if you could please take a minute to share your valuable feedback with us. The link to the feedback form is now in the chat box. And also, we would like to invite you for the next webinar on life and career after Ashoka, which is scheduled on Friday, 27th of August, same time, 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. IST. And the registration link for this is also provided in the chat box. Please note that the recording of this session will be uploaded on the Ashoka's YouTube channel. And in case you want to share it with your friends, please feel free to do that. If you have any further queries regarding various other aspects of the university, feel free to write to us at apply@ashoka.edu.in. Also, you can visit our website for more information. And this brings us to the end of today's session. I thank once again all the panelists and the audience members, also people who at the back end are helping us execute this program. Please do take care of yourself and stay safe. Thank you. Bye.